From Zeno saying, Tom, love the work you do along with everyone else and all the other channels, except for Saints Now. I added that part on purpose. You all do a great job. My question is, where's the Cowboys clearing up cap space? And while I do not see them doing absolutely anything with it, if they did, what are the odds at the deadline that they would trade for Amari Cooper, and what would it cost? The odds are extremely low, almost entirely because the Browns need him. Like, the Browns' entire strategy is win games right now. And as bad as Deshaun Watson, that offensive line looked, they can't punt already. So I would be, and they also restructured Amari's deal to free up cap space. Doesn't make sense for them. I'd be pretty blown away if the Cowboys were able to pull off a trade for Amari Cooper. I think to an extent, not that he's unhappy in Cleveland. Did you guys catch him when he said he called the Cowboys we? Like, I think he misses it a little bit. The Cowboys also screwed that up. They let it get personal. They made the mistake. So do not get your hopes up at all there. Now, we will give any and all super thanks a shout out when they come in. Obviously, this one's going out, before our next live show is after the game. So just be aware it might be a short answer if it's focused on the game, but I'll at least respond to the comment too. Any super thanks equals a shout out. Click that thanks icon, edit your message, send in whatever you want to send in. Even it's Tom, you stink. Any of those work. CJ DeYoung III. Can't the Cowboys hire some 22-year-old college grad for $60K a year to stand on the sideline and just watch the damn clock? Thank you. Look, you're not wrong. Also, it still requires your head coach to be aware enough to listen to the 22-year-old yelling in his ear. And what is the difference between listening to the clock or listening to the coach in your ear and looking at the damn clock across the field from you? It's very obvious that the clock is running down. It's not that hard. Because only the coach can call the timeout. Look, McCarthy screwed it up again. And he knows he screwed it up. Can't happen again. Cost yourself 3 points. Didn't matter in the Browns game. Might matter against, like, the Eagles or the Lions or the Steelers. Hopefully not for against the Niners, but still, like, can't do it. So, and honestly, the solution is, Mike, do your job. Like, I would tell you that Jerry Jones' answer would probably be, I need to pay somebody $60,000 to watch the clock for you, my head coach? Coming out of your paycheck then, buddy. That's what I think the actual answer would be. Because your head coach will be able to do that. So what is your confidence level in Mike McCarthy? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1, the low end, 10, the high end at the pin comment of today's show. Ecuador man AOG, how do you beat the Niners with no juice at running back? So, great points. And I think this does get into some overarching, bigger picture conversation stuff. The NFL across the board, this has happened for a couple years in a row now, explosive plays are drying up. It is harder to find those 20-plus yard big plays because defenses have adjusted to these aerial attacks. There is a ton of two-deep coverage. You got two guys back there at all times, keeping everything in front of you. You're trying to take away the big play. The boxes are light as a result. One way to counteract how you're going about doing that is to get more plays on the ground. I think the running game matters in football. I think we can argue maybe running backs don't matter as much of the positions, but if teams are going to be in too high shell coverage against you and have 6 or in the box at most, that's where you need to be able to run the damn ball, is in that scenario. And that is something Dallas has struggled with several years in a row now. Whether it was Zeke or Pollard, they've had issues effectively running that football. You can go back and look at all those losses against good teams. You know what a constant has been? Attempts and failures to run the football. Now, I think a great way to do that is to have some juice, because I crave explosive plays. Speedy backs, those guys that can take a 5-yard gain into a 20-yard gain, I crave that because I can find guys with vision and power. I do think the lack of juice is still a concern I have in this ground game. Wasn't a big deal in week 1. Might be as we move along. So, Ecuador man, great question and comment. Object Pawar, it seems that Dak passes to his tight ends a lot. Yeah. Statistically speaking, Dak is one of, and in fact was last year, the most effective quarterback at that seam shot. That down the field throw, and Lamb was up there too, and Ferguson was up there too. And you even saw it against the Browns. Now, sometimes it gets them into trouble. You kind of had that first and third down play on the touchdown drive, right? Dak is just aggressively forcing a shot to Fergie. Never should have thrown it. Probably should have been picked. Got lucky it didn't. Happens in getting a little bit too aggressive, and then comes right back and throws a beautiful throw to Cooks with a free man in his face. You live with some of the, okay, Dak, that was a little bit too aggressive over the middle, because that gives you those explosive plays I just mentioned. Those seam shots for 25 yards, those are huge plays. And there's 5, 6, 7 big ones for, every one bad one, whatever. It's actually a pretty good turnout for the Cowboys. Today's show is made possible by Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, helps lower your bills. Also, you can grow your savings. Who here is closely tracking your bank statements and credit card history? Are you combing through every single charge on a regular basis, or are you just assuming it's fine until you noticed something weird? I don't have time to watch all my accounts that closely, but Rocket Money does it for me. They have over 5 million users and have saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's features. So stop wasting money on things you don't use or don't want anymore. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and monitor your spending by going to rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. That's rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. Stephen Goltz, do you see any scenario in which the Cowboys trade Lance? Does one exist? Yes. It's if they get blown away by an offer, they get an actually good offer from a desperate team. Do I think that happens? No. I don't think anyone's trading for Trey Lance right now. And in part because of just the situation he's in. By the time he gets to a new team, learns the offense, you're 3-4 weeks away from that. So now you're missing all that time of the season. Maybe it's only 2 weeks if you're lucky with the way coaching staffs have evolved. Remember that Josh Freeman game for the Vikings when he was not ready. You don't want that. Kevin O'Connell could probably make it work. He made it work with Josh Dobbs, but I digress. Trey Lance is not a valid short-term solution because he's not ready still. So he's only viewed as a long-term option, and the long-term option is out of a contract this year. So I don't think that ends up being a likely outcome for the Cowboys. I would actually be pretty surprised if that one went down. Andrew Guerrero, would you draft Jaydon Blue, the Texas running back, in the second round? Maybe. I'm actually unconvinced he ends up going pro. He's been okay for Texas so far. I think he'll be more explosive. He didn't have a great game against Michigan, I thought. Did have a nice game through the air. It's a really good running back class. I think you'll be able to find somebody in the second round. TBD on if it's Jaydon Blue or not. But Texas, they lost a good one to an injury, so Blue should get plenty of work this season. Clinton Bush, why didn't Deuce Vaughn play more? I don't know. He played a lot of special teams, actually, which is actually a big deal for him. He actually had a very good block on the Kevontae Turpin punt return to touchdown. So that's a big deal for Deuce Vaughn. He wasn't involved much in the first half. In second half, that's not where you want him involved. This team wants to give Zeke and Dowdle first cracks. If there's a game where they're just not running the ball effectively, wouldn't be surprised if Deuce Vaughn got more involved then. So predictions. Will Deuce Vaughn score a touchdown this year? Y for yes, N for no. Get your predictions in for me in the comment section of today's show. Officer Pawar, $2, has Dak covered for Mike McCarthy's bad decisions? At times, I think you see that on third down. The Cowboys offense last year had success because they were the best third down team passing in football. They were unbelievably good. In fact, Dak was actually better on third downs like the entire offense combined at games. The third down is oftentimes Quarterback, receivers, go make a play. I think the passing structures and the concepts are pretty good involved there more often than not. It's a far cry from the 3rd and 10 all hitches crap that the Cowboys used to run. But I do think there are times like, man, I think there could have been some more creativity in the ground game. I'm still looking for that. I think it's still a little bit basic. But I think there are times, yeah, there absolutely are. Danielle Spain, what's a trade we should make? Can you find an explosive back? I'd call about that idea. I think you have some possibilities of making something happen there. If you lose a player to injury, go do that. For now, I'm going to wait and see. But I will be monitoring stuff come trade deadline time. I promise you. Now, if you want to be a part of our mailbags in the future, subscribe. It's free. Easy. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/CowboysTV. King Carroll, what do you do with Caelen Carson when Bland comes back? So he goes to the bench. You start Deron Bland. You start Trayvon Diggs. You keep Jordan Lewis in there in the nickel. I think it gives you, from what we've seen so far, confidence in some dime looks. Because the Browns came out a few times with 4 receivers late in that game. And the Cowboys didn't really have a dime package option. You don't want to put a safety out there. You can't put a linebacker out there. So you're kind of stuck. Kind of limits some of the depth of play calls you have there. So late in games, if you're up and the Cowboys are, it's the Cowboys are up by 20 in the 4th quarter, opposing team trots out 4 receivers or 4 receivers and a tight end. They're clearly not going to run that football. Could mix in some more dime looks in there. Take a linebacker off the field. Go with one linebacker and put Bland and Lewis more in the slot, or if they do trips, you got options there. So I think that it might give you some more personnel flexibility. Chris Romero, at what point/game the Cowboys will realize they need a better running back or any wide receiver 3? Any trade candidates at those positions? It's one game, and an upgrade at both. I'm not out on wide receiver yet because you just didn't. The Browns defense is good. Like, that's one of the better pass defenses you'll play. I'd say give it 3 or 4 games, and we'll probably have a big enough sample size to say more. At this point, they are committed to their. That's what we saw in the preseason. I think it all looks better a passing game too if you get Lamb a bit more involved there. Tristan Mounds had a Mazi Smith look last week. Do you notice how we didn't say his name a bunch big run up the middle? Yeah, he deserves some credit there. But I thought there was one play where everyone did a really good job of taking on their men, and he didn't get turned a lot. He held his ground. The Saints will run the ball more than what the Browns did, I suspect, because Derek Carr is a really good play-action quarterback, and that's the offense that Clinton Kubiak runs. It's how it's going to be built. So I think a bigger test coming for him against New Orleans. I want you guys to predict the score of the Cowboys-Saints matchup. Let me know in the comments of today's video. Noah Turner, what are some advantages and disadvantages you think the Cowboys have against the Saints? We've done some previews, so we kind of talked about those a little bit. I think the biggest thing for me is, can your offense be better than what it was last week? The Saints have a great defense again. Now, Marshawn Lattimore's injury could be a red flag there. And can Mike Zimmer, against a Shanahan-style offense, give you better results than what Dan Quinn was getting? Troy Hernandez, last one. My birthday's today. Can I get a Cowboys win? I hope so, Troy. Everyone type HBD in the comments